welcome everybody to our statewide Family Engagement Center State Advisory Council meeting. It's good to see all of you. And I want you to know that today we're going to be surfing the web a little bit, looking at our website and testing that out, and also participating in a survey. Good morning. And so if you have a device with you and can be on the Wi-Fi, that would be great, either with your phone or with your laptop. We also brought extra laptops today. And if you feel like balancing all of these handouts on your lap is difficult and you don't have something, we brought a few clipboards. So we're in a little bit different space today, but I think it's fun, and we're all adaptable. So here's where we're headed today. Yes? Sure, Ken, yes. All right, so network is COSI events. Dinosaur opens in November 17th. So it looks like a capital D is important in dinosaurs, and then a capital O in open, capital N, I in in, and a capital N in November 17. Yeah, I didn't actually sit here and read how long that was. And if you're like me, it's taking you a few times to get your fingers to type all of these letters correctly. How about now? Getting there? Dinosaurs opens in November 17. All right, who has successfully gotten on? We're good? Hi. Good, thank you. Thumbs up. Great. Good. All right. Dinosaurs opens in November. Can I move forward? Anyone give me the stop sign? Whoop. Or, wow. Here we go. Good. I'm going to move. How's that? Okay. What are we going to do today? So we'll after we sort of get things started here, we're going to hear from Dr. Kimberly Keel, who is a vice president here at COSI and was also a few decades ago my graduate school advisor. So just yesterday. So our website is live. We shared that with you, but we want to have some time for you to dig in and take a look at that and play with it and give us some feedback on that. We want to give you some updates about the Family Engagement Center and let you ask questions of us. There we go. We're back. Also when, Kelly brought up for us at our last meeting, she said, how do we know if we're a successful state advisory council? What are our measures of impact? And so we're going to talk about that and start to think about what do we want our measure. We want to set that with you. So we're going to start that this morning. And all right. Also, as you know, with the Statewide Family Engagement Center, we have an external evaluator who is measuring our progress. And one of their first sort of official evaluation surveys is for you. And so we have a link to that. We're going to ask you to take a little bit of time, about 10 minutes today, to participate in that. Am I doing something that makes this go black? All right, thank you. I'm super thankful for the woman behind the curtain. All right, thank you. All right, we have, as you know, we've been working on the statewide, the family engagement framework. So we've moved it along a little bit. We're going to have you take a look at that and give us some more feedback today. And also from our last meeting, some of you, we talked about having a smaller group of you that helps us plan these meetings. So we're going to set the stage for that today. And then we just want to let you enjoy COSI. All right, so without, if we can just really quickly spend some time. I know this is a little bit, we're not as movable as we sometimes are at our different meetings. So if you would turn around or shift your seat a little bit, introduce yourself to someone. What's new at work or home quickly, and one impact you'd like this council to have. Of you and to have a chance to talk. All right, so did someone hear something super interesting from their partner? A couple highlights. You can talk about the other person you talked to. Yeah, Jim. All right, so, a round of applause for Eric Anderman here, who for about 10 years was the department chair for educational studies at Ohio State, which is a very diverse department, and was a big, hard job. And so he has stepped down. He's one of our partners, though, and we are embarking on a middle school transitions project together with the center and with Eric this year. So we're really excited about that he has time to do that with us now. So, all right, something else. Yes, Anita. Yes. I like that. Thanks, Felix. And we're glad you do the work that you do. We're glad you're here, too. Someone else? One more? Your summer job that you had, you brought kids here. What was... Nice. You're one of the counselors. Nice. So, recommendation from you, one or two, like not to miss. If someone has like a half hour and then they have to head back to work, or an hour and they want to spend it, what would you recommend? Oceans, all right. Okay. Everything at COSI is fun. All right, no one's going to argue with that. Yeah. I recently got to see the dinosaurs exhibit, and I realized how many gaps I had in my knowledge and how much has been filled in, and there's so many more dinosaurs than I ever knew about. So, Meredith, last one, yeah.
Her daughter is here, so getting ready. She'll make her grand entrance.
Okay. Yes. Yes. Well, that's great. One of the things that, and we got a slide about it later, is that we listened, we've been listening to you, and one of the things we decided to do is we need to have more teenagers as a part of our council, but also that when we sort of mix you in throughout, your voice, your ideas sort of get mixed in with everyone else. So we're going to give our teens a time to sort of meet separately from us, and we'll start that today. So great, and I'm great. These are great ideas that we'll bring to that. So without going any further, I want to introduce you and give you some time to listen to Dr. Keel about COSI, and I'm just going to sort of open it up and let you present. It's going to be wonderful. All right, thanks.
Thanks, guys. Welcome to COSI. We're so glad you're here. I'm actually going to stand here. Barbara, do you want your phone in case you need to monitor anything? I could try. I'm going to actually stand here because it's a little easier for me to manage slides and not move around and for you to look at slides. But welcome to COSI. I want to do a couple things first, give a big thanks to our events team who helped organize this because they're amazing, and Elise up there and behind the curtain who's amazing and who I would die if she wasn't behind the curtain. My name's Kim Keel. I am the Senior Vice President of Experience and Operations here at COSI, and what that means is that under my supervision, if you will, is everything that makes this building run. So the floor team, the educators, the people who clean, all the programs we do in the building, out of the building. We have a Center for Research here that is all under my supervision. This is my second time at COSI. I was a tenured faculty member at The Ohio State University, and Barbara was one of my PhD students. I was in, at that time, the College of Human Ecology, which then merged with the College of Education. Was an associate dean for teaching for a while. And then when Kathy Sullivan was CEO here, she came to me and said, "You want to leave the university and come here, don't you?" And so I did. So I was here for about 20 years and then left and went to the Smithsonian. Was in the Smithsonian in DC as the CEO of the school that is inside the Smithsonian. Was there for 4 years and then came back to Columbus, and Frederick said, "You want to come back to COSI, don't you?" So here I am. So I'm going to walk through a couple things this morning just to talk about STEM education. Actually, maybe I will move around so I can see the slides. So we're going to talk a little bit about STEM education and parents. We're going to go through this pretty quickly. So how many of you have texted someone today? A lot of you. How many of you share photos with other people? A lot of you. How many of you have had a prescription in the last 4 years? A lot of you. How many of you eat food? Excellent. Good. And how many of you are in this beautiful building today, right? That is all science. All of those things come about because of STEM. All of those things are related to STEM. Here's some facts that we know right now. Every minute, 2.5 million pieces of content are shared on Facebook. Every minute. 4 million Google search queries every minute. 2.4 emails are sent every second. Half of those are to my email box. On average, we check our smartphones about 150 times a day. Youth check them more than that. And every minute, 48,000 apps are downloaded on the Apple Store. So you can see that we're living in a high science and tech world, and it's changing every single day. So everything from what we know about health, to what we know about chemistry, to what we know about the world itself, is all related to STEM. But sadly, what we also know is that we're living in a society that's less and less STEM literate, and that's a problem. 69% of people still don't believe in climate change, and 50% of people surveyed are not concerned about climate change. We have issues that range from what happens with our food, GMOs in food. There's controversy over vaccines. We have issues around cybersecurity. There are things about how we're using energy and how we're going to use energy in the future. There are new advances in energy. All of these things are things that we think about every day here. 41% of people, when they're surveyed, think that the humans and the dinosaurs coexisted. If you are one of those 41%, don't be embarrassed. Lots of people are. And you should go to the dinosaur exhibit and see that. How many of you have gone to the doctor and the doctor has said to you, "You have a virus, here's a prescription"? Viruses aren't taken care of by prescriptions. Bacteria, you can get a prescription, an antibiotic for bacteria, but not for a virus. But a lot of people don't know that. All right, so here's a quiz. Ready? I want you to tell me who these people are. Brad Pitt. Who's the other guy? Anybody know? That's Stephen Squires. The other person is Edward Tunstall. They were the two who worked on and developed the Mars rover. How about these two? Martha Stewart. Who's the other one? She's the woman who discovered black holes. These two? This is 007, right? Yeah. You might not remember his name, but... And that's Paul Barron, who invented the internet. So name 3 scientists for me. Just shout them out. Newton. Who? Galileo. Marie Curie. Who's that? Einstein, Marie Curie. Who's this? Anyone know? George Washington Carver. Now name for me 3 scientists who are living. Your daughter? Excellent. That's the best answer I've ever had. 3 famous scientists who are living. Who's that guy? Neil deGrasse Tyson. Who's that? Bill Nye. Those are the 2 that we most commonly hear, right? So if I ask you to name football players, or if I ask you to name movie stars, you could probably come up with those pretty quickly. But when we ask people to name scientists, it's tough. And we tend to get the same names over and over again. Right now, we have 2.4 million STEM jobs that are not filled in this country. And by 2025, the estimates are there's going to be 3.5 million that we'll need to fill in this country. And you can see the difference between the change in total occupations and the change in STEM occupations. And that's just going to continue. As of yesterday, there were more than 140,000 jobs that were not filled in the state of Ohio. There's a little place where you can check that stat every day. And half of those were related to STEM. So you can see that STEM is really important, and we see it in the news all over the place, and I'm sure you've seen some of these as well. So that's where a place like COSI comes in. That's what we feel like our job is. So this is our vision and mission: to engage, inspire, and transform lives and communities by being the best partner in science, technology, and industry. And the key words in there are engage, inspire, and transform, but the other key word is partner. We feel really strongly that we can't do this work by ourselves. This is not something that COSI can just do in our building or anyplace else. We want to partner with groups like you to really change the culture that we live in. We have a number of outreach programs. We have a number of programs in our building. Again, those live under my supervision. And through those programs, we impact over 1 million people across the state, which is about 10% of Ohio's population. Some of you might know COSI on Wheels if you've had it at schools, but we also have workshops. We have a number of other things that we do. We also, in this building, have exhibits. Barbara asked what you should go see. I would tell you should definitely, if you have time this afternoon, go see the Henson exhibit. It's only here through Labor Day. It is your only chance to see the original Jim Henson puppets. It's amazing. It's amazing. You should definitely go see that. But we have both sides. So on that side of our building, you'll see COSI exhibits. Those are all things that have been here since we've opened 20 years ago. And now on this side of the building, underneath you, is the American Museum of Natural History. So we are the only museum in the world to have a partnership with the American Museum of Natural History, and that means that they help us bring exhibits in. So downstairs, they were the designers and helped with the dinosaur exhibit, which is a permanent exhibit for us. But we also move traveling exhibits in and out. Right now, we have Mythic Creatures here through Labor Day. After that, we'll have Unseen Oceans, which is amazing. And that will start when we reopen in October and then run through February. And then after that, we have an exhibit called Cuba, which is also equally amazing. So they do those exhibits. This is COSI. This is the American Museum of Natural History. It's the largest natural history museum in the entire world. That entire building is the museum. COSI fits right there. So it's a really unique and interesting partnership, and we think it's a really nice way to blend natural history and science together. They were the creators of our dinosaur exhibit, and if you don't know why we have birds and chickens, you should go see the exhibit, because they are relatives of the dinosaur. This is one of the pieces in that section. And this is our current exhibit that we have right now that is from AMNH. We also have a ton of educational programs. That's our COSI on Wheels truck. Some of you may have seen that at your school or your child's school. We travel all over the state of Ohio as well as to surrounding states. Our demonstrators are, I love this picture because this is the energy show, but this is a typical demonstrator and the way you see them interacting. And then this is what you typically see kids doing when they see it. So we try to really bring science to life for kids all across the state. So COSI has also become this place for these very important STEM discussions. Just this past weekend, we hosted the Virgin Hyperloop Pod, which was amazing, and we presented it to the community to see this is a real possibility that you would be able to get from Pittsburgh to Columbus to Chicago in 27 minutes. We hosted a conversation about the future of the workforce with these leaders. That's what this photo is, folks from Amazon and other places. This is a leading NASA figure who is talking to a group of kids in our planetarium space. He also happens to be the pilot that Top Gun was modeled after. The movie Top Gun was modeled after. He was pretty cool. And then this is the president of Ford, and he came to talk to a group of business people as well. And the quote up there, which is you can sort of see, growing up, COSI inspired me and put me on a path to my current position today. After he got done talking, he grew up in near Columbus and said, had it not been for COSI, he thinks he probably would not have become the president of Ford. So these are the kinds of things that are important to us. We also have some pretty rigorous diversity and inclusion plans going forward as well. And one program we do is the Color of Science, where we bring scientists of color in to talk about their work and to serve as role models for students across the state as well as for adults. This happens in November. If you look at our website, you'll find the dates. I don't want to tell you the dates because I'm afraid I'll misquote them. There is a lecture, a group lecture, and then on a Friday. And then on Saturday, there's a middle school program where middle schoolers get a passport and they go around and meet various scientists and get their passports stamped and have experiences with them. COSI has also this year kicked off our inaugural Science Festival. The way we did this was we spent 3 days in the community with the community doing all sorts of events. We had a total of over 40,000 people between the community events and the Saturday event. So for the first 3 days, there were events all around the community, around the various communities around Columbus. This year, we've added 6 new cities. And then on Saturday, we have a huge celebration here, all free to the public. This year we had 140 tents, I believe, for that science festival. So I'm going to try to show you a video, hopefully.
The largest science and technology cultural event in
That's our
Ohio's
CEO, Frederick
history.
Bertley. That one you just saw in the Boy Scout uniform is Barbara's son. He was one of our STEM stars.
This whole festival has been tremendous.
I'm proud that the state is a partner with COSI for the COSI Science Festival and its free Big Science celebration.
There are so many different things for everybody.
Nothing but pure enthusiasm.
It's not just for scientists, it's not just for engineers.
For one of the biggest science events in Ohio history, and they delivered with a bang.
So we'll be doing it again this year, May 6th through the 9th, 6th, 7th, and 8th will be in the community. May 9th, we'll have the big science celebration, so put it on your calendar. Come down, come enjoy it. It's fantastic. We're also doing STEM Stars again this year, and as I mentioned, for those of you who didn't hear, in the STEM Star section, the young man in the Boy Scout uniform was Barbara's son, so it was really fun to show up there. I didn't know that until I got there. I was like, oh my gosh, this is so great. So COSI also has national reach in a lot of ways. One is through our interactive video conferencing program that goes all over the country, all over the state, across the world. But the other way that we do that is that we have something called the Center for Research and Evaluation, where we partner with museums and groups like yours to do research, and that research right now goes across the world. So our whole Center for Research and Evaluation has a national reach as well. So here's what we know. We know that we have a leaking, what we call a leaking STEM pipeline, and this graphic is just a little bit old, so the numbers are a little bit off, but it's still, the story is still the same. So the story is that in middle school and high school, we still have a number of kids who could potentially be interested, right? But what happens in high school, about 30% of kids drop out of the STEM pipeline. They're like, this is not for me. This is not something I want to do. When we get to college, only about 8%, 9% graduate in STEM. So what does that mean? What does that mean for you guys? I want to just quickly give you a little bit of what we know from our own research as well as from other research. And one of the things that we found is that there's a lot of research that supports that simply by talking to your child about STEM or talking to the children in your schools about STEM, that can motivate them to take more STEM courses in high school, to take more STEM courses in college, and then to move into STEM careers. So simply having conversations about it has a huge effect. But what else can parents do? Well, one thing you can do is watch your words. I hear all the time, I just heard it this morning coming in, someone on the radio said it, or somebody on a podcast I was listening to, said it. You hear people say all the time, I'm not really very good at math. I'm not very good at science. You don't really hear people say, I'm not very good at reading. I'm not very good at walking. I'm not very good at, you don't hear those things. So simply by the words we use, I don't really understand math. As you're helping your child with math, I don't really understand math. I was never really good at math. Those kinds of things perpetuate this idea that it's okay not to be good at math, that it's okay not to be good at science, that those things are hard and it's okay not to be good at them. We don't encourage our children not to be good at reading. So watching your words and how you're talking about math and science and what challenges it may have presented for you, but how you overcame those challenges, those are things that are really important. I tell a story about when I was in high school. My grandfather was a physics major. My dad was a math major. I loved math. I still love math. I loved math, and I thought I was going to go to college and be a math major too. When I was a senior in high school, I took calculus, and my calculus teacher was like my hero because I thought calculus was so cool, right? So I was taking this calculus class in about October, mid-October or so of my senior year. My calculus teacher took me out in the hall, and he said to me, Kim, you need to stop answering so many questions in class because you're making the boys look stupid, and boys don't like girls who make them look stupid. I was a 17-year-old girl. What do you think I did? I stopped answering questions. So those words can make a huge difference. I didn't major in math either. Those kinds of words can make a huge difference, so watch your words. Encourage your children to observe, question, and experiment. So you don't always have to have the answer. What do you think? What do you see? Let's try this. What would happen if we did this? Those kinds of things, those skills are STEM skills. And you can start that from the time children are babies. You can say to them, what do you see? What do you think about what do you see? What could we try? So those kinds of skills are really, really important. Give them real tasks that encourage critical thinking and problem solving. So one of the things that I see, I used to teach parenting at OSU, and one of the things that I see is a lot of kids who come to us, to our programs, who have had everything done for them. So they don't know how to solve a problem. They don't know how to figure some things out. They don't know how to look at something and say, really? And that includes everything from when you Google something, just because it comes up first doesn't mean it's true, right? And I know a lot of adults who don't know that too. So it just means it's the thing that comes up first because it's moved itself to the top of the list. So those kinds of real things around the house, around the school, that kids can help solve, those are really important skills that you can teach them that'll be really helpful. If you don't know something, learn with them. It's okay to say, I don't know about that. So let's go find out together. At the Science Festival, one of the things I liked best about walking around the Science Festival is that I heard a lot of that. So we had everything from electromagnetics to blowing bubbles, right? So science that sort of had this whole range. And I heard so many adults saying to their children, I don't know what that is, let's go find out. That's a really important skill. You learn, they learn, and they find out that that's how you figure things out. Finding the STEM and the things they already enjoy. So we tend to think of STEM as being something over here. But if you remember from the beginning, STEM is in almost everything you do, right? So where is it in the things they like? So if they love skateboarding, there's a ton of stuff out there about the STEM of skateboarding and the physics of skateboarding. So find those things that they love and connect it to them. The other thing we talk a lot about is that STEM is not a subject, it's a way of thinking, it's a way of being. So it's a way of being curious and asking questions and problem solving. So it's not just a topic, it's a way of thinking and being in your life. Introduce them to new professions and careers, things that they don't even know exist. There's a lot of research out there that says that for kids who are in middle school now, by the time they get to their careers, about half of those careers don't even exist right now. So all those different options are important to introduce them to, that there are all these different things. There are different ways to be a scientist. And again, that's the goal that we have on the Science Festival, both the community events and that day, is to say, look at all the ways you can be a scientist. I had a online back and forth with a person who said to me, well, you're not a scientist. I'm like, well, I did research, and I looked at data, and I studied things, so I think I am. But their definition of a scientist was somebody who lives in a lab. And that gets to the last one, right? So we still are in a place, it's better than it used to be, I will say that, it's improved. But if you ask kids to draw a scientist, they still draw a white man in a white coat, middle-aged, with glasses, often a pocket protector. So that stereotype of what a scientist looks like, and when you leave here today, if you walk down the hallway this way, you'll see the Life exhibit, and in there you'll see something called Labs in Life. Labs in Life is something that I worked through the first time I was here to bring OSU researchers into our building. So there are 3 pods with researchers from Ohio State University doing their research in that space with the public. The public becomes their subjects. They get more subjects for their research. The public gets to see what science is and what research is, and they get to participate in research. And we have a wide variety of people in that space to try and help beat this stereotype. Questions? Any questions I can answer for you? We're so thrilled you're here. Thank you so much for being here. Anything I can answer? Yeah. Yeah. Right. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, I agree with that. So I think that's part of the goal of the STEM STEM Festival too. Is that one of the ways we're trying to get out into the community is through these community events. So these things that happen in different cities. Last year we did 10 cities. This year we'll do 16. And then we want to spread that, continue to spread that. So those community events not only bring an awareness of COSI, but bring awareness of STEM right here in your own city, in your community. And that we hope will start to spread. So we're looking at it as we have to go out of the building and then invite people in the building. We're also looking at a variety of different kinds of access programs for people who can't afford to come in the building. So that's one of the initiatives under our DNI that we're looking at as well. Yeah. Anything else I can answer? Perfect timing. Oh, yes. So there's a website. If you want to see the Science Festival website, I think if you Google COSI Science Festival, it'll come up. But I think the website is COSISciFest.org. I think that's what it is. I don't want to swear to it. I've been on it so many times I don't even look at it anymore. But if you Google COSI Science Festival, we have a whole website. That website will tell you about all the community events that are happening, what time they are, where they are, what's happening. It'll also give you all the information about the Science Festival, the big science celebration. And if any of you are at a place that you think you'd like to be part of the big science celebration, in about 4 weeks or so, on that same website, the application to be a part of that science festival will come up as well, and you can have a tent here as well, or an event in your community. So, thanks for being here. Yeah, Barbara. Yeah, that would be awesome. We'd love to have you. So have a good time in COSI today. See as much as you can, but definitely try to see the Henson exhibit before it leaves. Everything else, well, mythic creatures, but everything else is staying. So, all right. You're welcome. Woo.
Yeah. All right, so just a brief mom moment, all right? Because probably what brought me here today was a long time ago, walking my oldest child into public school for the first time. I had been a preschool director and teacher, but that experience of walking her into that school and sort of seeing the disconnect, and I was studying human ecology in early childhood, but I was also studying education, and I thought there's sort of this space between home and school that we haven't quite figured out. We don't do it really well. And so I leaned into that and made that my life's work and what brought us here. But and so sometimes our kids lead us, right? It's those experiences as a family member that take you sometimes down a career path or an interest as well. And I have a son who wanted to do things in creeks, had older kids once take him in a creek and turn over rocks and find little creatures in a creek when he was about 6. And then now as a 16-year-old said, I want to do that too as a Boy Scout. And went to our parks department in Reynoldsburg and said, what can I do? And they worked together and he created a new path in a park because the park was next to a stream but didn't look at the stream. Kind of like in our country sometimes we have a highway and a beautiful river but no way to get to the river. Columbus kind of used to be like that. You know, we had this river here but we didn't play in it or didn't. So anyway, built a path, made a bench, and researched it and made a sign about all the microinvertebrates that are in this creek and how you can get there, and then invited about 60 elementary school kids and their families to come and get into the creek with buckets and nets and pull those out. And what was fun for us is that our mayor, I had no idea about the STEM Festival, but our mayor was engaged and listened and saw this kid in Reynoldsburg who was helping other people get into the creek and recommended it and be a STEM star. And so once again, your kid sort of leading you into a space that I never would have gotten to. And actually sort of, I would say this meeting came about because of that. Yeah.
I think the really cool thing too about the STEM stars is that we didn't nominate anybody, but their community did. So in Grant County, the mayor nominated them. We had another STEM star locally who does 3D prints, prosthetics. Thank you. That's the word I was looking for. I've only had one cup of coffee. 3D prints prosthetics. He is missing a limb and 3D prints prosthetics. And because of him being recognized by his community as a STEM star, that's now gone to the state of Ohio, and there's legislation that's been passed about prosthetics based on his work. So it's just really amazing. So, all right.
All right, thank you. All right, that was fun. So let's keep moving forward here. Public service announcement. Yes.
I know some of you were stuck in traffic or got here a little bit late. I'm just going to talk through it. If you want to grab pastries, if you want to grab coffee, now is a good time. We're going to transition to something totally different. So grab the handouts if you haven't already gotten the handouts. And we're glad you're all here and you made it.
So let's pause for 5 minutes. 5 minutes. Grab coffee, grab pastries, situate yourself, get comfortable. Yes. Coffee or have already? It's on its way. So tell you what, you can hang out by the coffee pot, or you can always get up and get some more too. Let's not leave any pastries either. Okay. So while you are, what I'd like to move into now is to share with you about the website that we developed. So I don't know if you remember, but remember when we talked about, so what should the URL be? And we said, well, let's have it be Ohio Families Engage. That was our sort of suggestion that had most of us enjoyed. So I'm going to, I know when I flip to this next slide, our welcome video that we recently created for the website is going to pop up fast and just start rolling. So before I click to the next slide, I want to let you know that we, one of our graduate assistants who is now employed as a school counselor. We're really excited for Ryan and that he's moved from us and is doing great things with families and kids now in Pickerington in a middle school. But he helped us create this, and we tried to embed into it some of the things that we're learning about how to communicate well to folks about family engagement, and so you'll see that embedded here. So here's the welcome video for the website.
Welcome to the Ohio Statewide Family Engagement Center website. We know that Ohio's children succeed when families, schools, and communities work better together. Helping our kids succeed is like working at NASA's mission control. Just like a space launch needs astronauts, scientists, and mathematicians to work together, we need schools, families, and communities to work together to help student learning take off. Everybody has a part to play if we want to have a successful launch. Ohio's families are diverse. We have families with different strengths and challenges from different cultures and histories who speak different languages and who have different abilities. This website is for all of us. We created this website for every child, every family, and every school because everyone deserves an opportunity to benefit from the best resources available. All kids deserve the opportunity to succeed, and that happens when families, schools, and communities work together. We've filled our website with resources to help schools and families do family engagement well, and we keep adding resources all the time. We look for strategies and tools that work because we know that when we all work together, everyone benefits. Teachers are happier with their jobs, have increased confidence, and a better understanding of family and student needs. Students have higher test scores, better attendance, and a more positive attitude towards school. Families feel more supported, have increased confidence in their kids' education, and have better conversations with their kids about school. No matter what age a child is, they always need support from the adults in their life. Whether it's building a foundation for learning in early childhood, expanding possibilities in elementary school, or learning how to think critically as adolescents, it's important for families and education professionals to have the tools they need to work together to help Ohio's children succeed. We are excited and ready to launch the Ohio Statewide Family Engagement Center website. Check it out and get ready for liftoff.
All right. Pretty cool. Pretty cool. So what we'd like for you to do is to spend a little time surfing and checking the website out. We want you to know that there's a special login page for you there as well. So if you, as you are sort of navigating around the website, if you click on About Us, in the top navigation bar. If you click on About Us, you'll see the State Advisory Council. If you click on that and use the password council member, it'll put you into a page that's not accessible to the public, but it will have all of our meeting recordings, all of our handouts, and so the things that we're using today are there as well. So it'll be a place for us to sort of keep our things that we're working on together. A place for us to share with you. Yes?
Have a little note, if you're using your cell phone, the mobile version, you have to, sorry, on your cell phone, if you're in the About Us section, you have to click the little drop-down arrow. You can't just click About Us, so it's like the little arrow next to the About Us. Otherwise, you'll just go to a general About Us page.
Okay, so we want to give you some time to explore and to share your thoughts and questions with us. We've gotten started. We haven't done a big launch yet, but we've just sort of shared it with some of folks that we're closely connected to. So I'm going to be quiet, let you do that. You can talk while you do that, and then we'll come back together and hear from you. Any questions for me? Does anybody not have a device and you'd like us to share a laptop with you? Okay. Thank you. All right. Okay. All right. Thank you. Yes. There is. And Tom's going to pull up the website so we can see it larger here. How we have that set, it down bottom right-hand corner. Tom, there you go. So now, is there someone here who wants us to select a language and see? Because, yes. Nepali. We are trying to be careful also that if someone is using a screen reader, that the captions and things will work with someone who is using something where it will say this is a picture of a parent with a child on a bike. You know, this is a picture of. So, do we have Nepali? It's in the end. All right. There we go. So. Now you are our expert to tell us if this is making sense in Nepali. All right. Coffee's here. Please feel free to move around and get some. Yes.
Is it done Google Translation? Probably Nepali. I think it's common with other languages. Nepali doesn't exactly translate from Google to it. Like I can read the second part of it, like the second line.
Mm-hmm.
It is breaking the component of the word. It doesn't make sense when the word is being broken apart. Like the last one, it means ek neta, which means it has recognition or something. But when you say ek is one, neta is leader, so it doesn't make sense. So maybe before you launch, please consult with the expert, language expert. If this is the whole way around, I'm sure people will not understand. I can give me 1 second. Let me read the second sentence.
Okay.
I will let you know that one. It doesn't make sense.
All right. So perhaps let's seek out a better language translator.
Yeah. If it is like Google Translation with Nepali, I think it is same with Hindi. It doesn't exactly formulate the same way it is supposed to be. Like the very second sentence there, it means like it sounds funny if you want me to translate it in English when I read it.
Mm-hmm.
Ohio Rajya Vishwavidyalaya Ohio Statewide. It doesn't make sense.
Okay.
There's no sense of that sentence. Parivar Samlagnata Kendra Center. Parivar Vidyalaya Samudaya Samlagnata Kshetra Ma Ek Neta. The last 3 sentences, region has one leader. I am sure it doesn't mean that.
Nope. All right.
Probably the reason why I asked
Room to grow. Sure.
I just want to share a quick story. I was in Kober 6 years ago, picking up my prescription. They had a similar thing, Google Translate, saying they wanted to provide Nepali translator here, which means first they stick to get your things. That's what it says in the book.
Okay.
Yeah, first they stick.
Go across the street to get your things. All right.
I think this would be better, like, best.
Well,
This isn't
okay, thank you. No, we need you. There's some things that we, need other expertise. All right, will you jump back to English? All right. So, how you search, of course, we have a section for families and a section for schools. You can also search sort of just by if you're like me and you go, it was a thing, I'm trying to find it, I think the word yellow was in it. You can search the word yellow and it'll bring up things that have the word yellow, so if you just have that little bit of a idea of what you're looking for. So for families, we've organized it by sort of age levels with early childhood, elementary, middle, and high. For schools, similarly, but if you'll click on, say, elementary school for us, and then once you click, so what we've done here is organized a little bit differently. We know that schools attendance is a critical issue that schools are dealing with, and so we wanted to organize things around sort of those issues that schools are really paying attention to. So some of the categories are a little bit different for the schools section. The Stories from Ohio is probably the least populated section right now. What we really want to do is highlight really great examples of high impact family engagement that Ohio schools and communities are doing. We also want to highlight the things that families do. We're trying to keep, right? So we would love it if you would give us a story. I'm going to write a story too, and just pick an example of something that I did as a mom with one of my 3 kids that I think was beneficial to their how I engaged with their school, how I advocated for them, or something we did at home that was a wonderful learning experience for them. Right? We know that so much learning, important learning, takes place at home. Right? So we're about learning. We're about growing kids who are going to be successful in life. We know that so many of those lessons happen at home or in the community. So we want to highlight families as education experts. And that happens around the kitchen table and around stories and in the backyard and on a trip and, just walking down the sidewalk together or telling a story together. Yes. Yes. So Elaine reached out and shared a story with us that we were able to stick there as an example. But there's a place for you to hear, or if you want to send it to us and say, here it is, can you guys shape this for us? We are happy to sort of be the editors and to shape it for you. You don't have to write it beautifully for us. Yeah. You can tell us, no, so we wouldn't post your personal information, so we'll be careful with that. Right, and I think that's more if someone just in Ohio sends us something and we can communicate back to them. Yeah, okay. Other questions about it? So there's the Stories from Ohio, so that's what we're going to be really focusing on. Completing that. What is family engagement? This is where the framework and all of the different interactive pieces of the framework will land. Right now there's just a bunch of information, but this will be the home of Ohio's family engagement framework. And then in the About Us, of course, you see that about the center and about our team, but then also you. And we have been, for about 5 years at Ohio State, led a state family engagement network. And so they can access things here. We are kicking off next Wednesday work with Johns Hopkins University. We're bringing Joyce Epstein, who is a sort of a internationally renowned sort of researcher in family engagement. She's coming to Ohio, and she's going to be training our state leaders. And we're embarking on then something in the next 3 years. We'll have 96 school teams in Ohio trained through Johns Hopkins, so we've got a place there. Our national partners, our state partners, and our Ohio State partners. So a place for that, and then of course a place to contact us. So we feel good enough to launch this. We have so many more resources that we want to, it's really right now we just need more than 24 hours in a day. That's what we need right now. It's just time in creating that, and also feedback, good feedback. So help us. All right. Other things about it that you would. Yes, Jen. Yes. So you can, all right, team. We were a little afraid, and so we're like, nobody share it. But I think we're ready. Please share it, and then we're going to work with the Department of Education to push it out through the Department of Education as well. And then we have a communications plan that we've been working on to sort of with the back to school piece. We'll be pushing that out. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So as far as resources go, we have a system where in our office where we anyone on our staff can submit a resource, and that includes a photograph, a link, a description, and a title, and then we vet that. We look at that and say, is this of the quality that we would say we would promote this? And then we sort of edit that, and then we have a process where we tag it for this is appropriate for high school, this is appropriate for families, how many different search options would we want this to come up under, and then it gets categorized. So if it's about attendance and it's really a high school program, and it's really for schools, it's, just then that's the search it would come up under. If we really feel like it's something that's geared toward families and schools, multiple ages, we'll do it that way. So if you have not only a story to share or an example from your family or your community or your school that you would like to share with us, we'd love to have that. But also if there's a resource that you think is a great organization, there's an event, it's a report, it's a checklist, it's a favorite website. There's so many different types of resources. They come in so many different ways. So send those to us. And like I said, it's not your job to sort of write it beautifully and make sure that it's ready to load. Just send it to us, and we can do that. But we feel like we don't know all of the resources that are out there. So we want to have that. All right, let's keep moving. So please, yes. Mm-hmm. Yes. Yes. Sure. And it's sort of that we have a mental, behavioral, or socio. That's where we would put them. And yes, we would like to continue to. If you come across them again, yes. So, and it's good to know that that's an interest area, so we can maybe zero in on looking particularly in that for the resources in that area. And I see Eric nodding, like, yeah, let's get on that. Yes. Yeah, both for families. And so what do you do if you're, what are those signs, red flags that maybe, or what if your child says they've been bullied, but then also from the school's perspective? Yeah, okay, thank you. Yeah, Tracy? I'm sorry, the question was, will we be adding more resources for, and were you thinking in the high school area? Yes. The risk issues like bullying or other sort of traumatic social, right, depression, anxiety, test anxiety, just the whole realm of sort of mental health. Yeah. Okay. Anything else before we move forward? Please, as you have time, continue to look and send us your feedback. We did all of this in-house, so we can make changes, which is wonderful, easily to this, and make additions. All right, so here's what we've been up to. Just to sort of so we surveyed 323 districts in Ohio. They are all districts that, based on report card data, are districts that our State Department of Education has said these are districts that need a lot of help or a moderate level of assistance from us in an improvement. It's sort of how our education improvement system works in our state. Is our State Department of Education looks at student data and then says, let's really target some help at this school. We see that their students' our achievement levels are not where they can be. So we targeted our district survey to those districts and had 181 responses, and we'll share that with you. But we also, so we shared it with district leaders, and we prompted them several times so we would get a good rate of return. We also worked with regional offices and had directors in those offices who are familiar with those schools and with those superintendents help us to remind them. So some of our regions got 100% return rate from their districts. Some had less. So we'll share with you some highlights from that district survey. But this is helping to guide our work to have that. We finalized the terms, our terms of reference, and so we'll share those with you. We are prepared now for the National Network of Partnership Schools. Joyce Epstein is a researcher in the area of family engagement who, there's hardly an article written in a journal about family engagement that doesn't include a citation of Joyce Epstein. So she is coming to Ohio on next Wednesday and will be working with us for the next 4 years very closely to provide training for our state level folks, but also our regional offices, district leaders, and schools as well. So that's a part of our project we're embarking on, and I can share more in depth with you at another meeting, but just to let you know we're got that work started. We traveled to Reno, Nevada to the National Family Engagement Conference and presented there, and as about work that we do, and also we're able to meet with the other states who received the statewide Family Engagement Center grant, and learned about how they're doing the work. We also learned that many of them are using our work, which was exciting. We want you to know that Ohio is a leader. Some of them are using our literacy resources. Some of them were excited to see the application process we had for our State Advisory Council. The state of Kentucky actually used the same application and used the same process and is using some of our State Advisory Council. They wanted to form an advisory council, weren't sure where to start, and so they tapped into our resources. So just to let you know, other states are doing this work as well, and they seem to like how we're doing it in Ohio. So we will continue to sort of be in contact with them and learn from them as well. And we also want to remind you that you have a free membership to the National Family School Community Engagement, the Association for Family School Community Engagement. And so if you haven't already, please join. If you sort of are like me and say, oh, I want to do that, but how do I do that again? Kristen in our office, of course, or any one of us, just email us, let us know, tell us today, and we'll help that happen, okay? So, some other things. So about that district survey, we surveyed 323 Ohio districts and 181 responses. What we learned from that is about half of them have a plan in their district about how they want to engage families. Half don't. So there's room to grow. There's room for us to provide resources to districts to say, here's what a good family engagement plan would entail. Let us provide some assistance and some direction around that. Good to know. Let's learn from those districts that are doing it well as well. Okay, so there's not a vacuum out there. It's not that no one is planning, but and half are providing training to teachers and or administrators in family engagement. That's good to know too. Half are not. So again, room for us to grow there in providing training to both teachers and administrators and creating those trainings. In what topics are schools asking for training? So we asked about specific topics, and these were the highest. So we had 129 schools say they'd like training in how to engage families in different academic subjects, which is kind of where we started today with Dr. Keel, right, in STEM. So We've got we're going to be looking for resources. If there are trainings already available that we can, or resources available, we can make them available on our website, but we can also then develop a system for how we can get trainings out to Ohio. Mental health and trauma is a topic that was a top topic as well. So of interest in how do we engage families around mental health. 108 around how do we communicate better with families. 106 around building trustful and respecting relationships, and 100 schools indicated, or districts indicated, forming high-quality community partnerships. So we are embarking in many of these. We have some resources available, but we know now, like, what are the top? This is going to help guide what we start first, right? There's a lot to do. Where do we begin? Okay, so let's go back to that. On either of those slides, any questions, comments from you? We can share with you the entire report. We have aggregated all of it. We asked many more questions than this. Yes? Responded? Yeah, I think we can do that. Yeah. Yep. Mm-hmm. Any other questions? All right. It's good for us to have some data to work with. We know we need lots of your information for us. When you give us feedback, that's data to us as well. We learn from that. It helps guide our work. Here's another part that does as well. Yes, so our thought now, and this wasn't maybe originally where we were going with this, but we realized this would be good for us to do annually. What we did yesterday is we know that's, well, let me jump back a minute. We know that lots of us are asked to answer surveys, and then we hear nothing. We give the information to somebody on the phone, and then it goes away, and we don't know what happened to it. We're trying not to be that group that does that. So we reached back out to the folks who we sent the survey to and said, thank you for responding. To the 181 of you who responded, thank you very much. And let us start by letting you know that we are a statewide family engagement center, and we're launching a website. We can also reach back to them because we know which of them were interested in different topics. So as things come up, we want to sort of reach back and say, thank you for responding to the survey, and here is some information we'd like to share with you. So we're following up with that.
I can add the state aggregated report to the website under your advisory council page, the login portion, so everyone can see it. And we also made 16 regional reports. So the Department of Education divides our state into 16 regions, and there's an office in each region working with the schools in that region. And we aggregated just the districts in each of those regions and provided it to those teams so that they have that information in their planning. One of those teams up in the Youngstown area called this summer and said, would you kind of give us a mini meeting? And so I met with them virtually. They were all in their offices in Youngstown, and I led them through their report, and they were developing a plan around how they could use this in their own region. So we're excited to see that folks are picking it up and using it. All right, so here's how we are learning so much from you, but to let you know, we're increasing our students from between 6 and 8 students. Now we have 4, and so we are moving on that. We also, if you see in the final terms of reference, that what we heard from you is that the 2-year terms from January to December would be our term, and being able to renew for a 3rd year is an option. And we're also going to form a sort of subcommittee of you to help us determine what these meetings look like. Okay. Any questions about that? All right, we're going to keep moving along. And then about that subcommittee, so we thought we'd have 2 of our organizational representatives and 2 family representatives. We can wiggle around that, but we thought that would be a good minimum. The purpose of the committee would be to help shape our agendas and help monitor our success in achieving the goals of our council. And what we think, it would be a 1-year commitment. And what we would do is, after these meetings, we would just stay a little longer and debrief.
And then also, we would probably have a conference call in between meetings in our planning. Any questions about that? We'll follow up with you at that at the end as well. Okay. So, we love to hear from you. And at our last meeting, we're always checking to see how we're doing. And one of the things you said, we want to understand how do we contribute to the center's work. And we see that that's probably our lowest level right now. So we wanted to really focus on that. And one of the ways we wanted to focus on that was to think about, hear from you and decide together what our outcomes should be. As a council, how do we know if we're doing well as a council? So I'm going to give, I think, over to Meredith at this point in time, kind of lead us. Oh, that's a lot of words. I'll go back a little bit and let her give some context. And then we're going to start talking about that. But before we lean into that, before we start talking about our outcomes, any questions about? Okay, let's keep going.
Can I have the clicker? Barb. Yes. Relinquish control. Okay. Hi, guys. We've already done some work, huh? Okay. Let me see if I know how to do this. Okay, this is a lot of words. This is what we wrote into our proposal that we would do as a center. This is how we're organizing our work as a center. So on the left, you'll see, ooh, fun. You'll see all the people we plan to partner with. And so we have OSU, we have ODE, we have you guys, we have NAFSCI, that Joyce Epstein National Network of Partnership Schools, and our evaluators. So I think you've already heard a little bit about each of those partners, so they're definitely active partners, and we are working with them. So check that off the list for ourselves. Our activities, we organized into a few different buckets. So we have training and technical assistance to our state education agency, local education agencies, which is districts and organizations. And so part of that is establishing this center to provide technical assistance and training. And then part of that activity is supporting that development of Ohio's framework for family engagement. So I think we're well on our way to accomplishing those goals, and you guys have been a part of helping with that. We also have activities, services, and training for parents and school personnel. So we are tasked as a center with providing direct services and parents to parents and families. That's not something that we traditionally did very much of, or at all, as a group before we got this grant. So figuring out what that looks like, figuring out how we integrate it into our website for easy sort of distribution of resources and training. That could definitely be something that the council really helps us move on. And then also our rollout of that national evidence-based model in 96 school districts over the next 3 years will help us do that, because we will be directly training people to go in and work very actively with families to help them be on decision-making boards, and et cetera, at schools. And then providing families with information and tools to make decisions regarding educational choice. So you might have noticed that one of the buckets on our website was school choice. So I think over the next couple years, we're going to definitely lean into that idea. And Barb talks about school choice in a couple different ways. So it's what school, and then within that, every day we make decisions about how we interact with our child's school, how we improve that school community, and how we continue to help it to improve. So we think of school choice in sort of that broad way, not just what school, but within the school, how do you make it better? And so it follows from those activities that we can measure some tangible things that come out of doing that work. So we have an advisory council, which is part of our setting up as a center, is setting up this council. We are working on this awareness campaign. So we have a website where our framework will be housed. We're working closely with the Ohio Department of Education to figure out how it's going to roll out. Will we have radio spots? Will we have newsletters that go out? We now have a subscription listserv on the Ohio Department of Education website. So if you go to ODE's main webpage, scroll down to the very bottom and click on sign up for alerts, type in your email address, and Family and Community Engagement is one of the subscriptions that you can sign up for. So then anytime they want to share something from that state education agency level about family engagement, they'll send it through there. So that's really cool, and it's going to be a great way to, get the word out about our stuff. Okay, where was I? So under other outputs, other ways that we can know that we're doing the work tangibly would be if we have tools, technical assistance, and resources for all those different levels for the framework. And now, what's interesting is that when you have a framework, do people really want to be trained on this is a framework? Or do they really want to know what it looks like for them as a family, for them as a school, for them as a state agency? So it's not going to be necessarily that we're developing trainings on there are 3 parts of this framework, but really sitting down with groups of people and saying, what is your work? How can we help you think about the family engagement piece of your work in a more expansive way, in a more targeted way, in a more measurable way? So that's, I think, how we're thinking about these sort of framework rollout trainings. We have promised that there will be a set minimum number of family members engaged in the evidence-based NNPS model. So that is one way we'll be tracking our outputs. And we're reaching a lot of families. So those are sort of the ways that we as a center are going to be tracking what we're doing. And then we hope that some short-term and long-term outcomes will come out of that work. So attitudes of teachers and school leaders will change. Their self-efficacy, so confidence of working with families will improve. And, we might get some of that information from our district level survey. So if those district level surveys start to indicate that more schools have plans, more schools have trainings for family engagement, then you might expect that their confidence and ability to work well with families would improve. If we see more policies and practices changing, then we'll know that we're doing a good job. And then infrastructure. So this one is what we hope we'll see the biggest change in that survey, I think. So if after implementing that evidence-based model, schools say, yes, we have a team that includes families, yes, we are incorporating families into decision-making, then we'll know that that model is being implemented well and that we're doing a good job. But, so we have all of this towards that end of improving student attendance, improving academic achievement and well-being. So as a council, we need to think about this a little bit differently, right? Because your long-term and short-term outcomes might be similar to that, but what are the activities that we'll do as a council? Those might look a little bit different. And how are we going to measure the outcomes of those activities directly? So what are the tangible things that we could measure as a council that align with all of these goals of the center? So there are a couple different ways we could do this, but you have a handout with this on one side, and then on the back of your handout is a blank logic model. So what I'd like you to do for, let's say 5 minutes, is individually think about what you think could go into each of those boxes. We can give you a little bit more time if we need to. And just take some time to jot down some notes. What do you think as a council member, what is sort of your contribution to the center's work? What are those activities that you're going to be doing, that you'd like to be doing? How could you measure the success of those activities? And then would those long and short-term outcomes in your mind be the same, or would they be slightly different? Any questions about getting started with this? If you've never done a logic model activity, it is sort of a little bit of an out-of-body experience. You're like, really have to think about your place in the world, right? Like what you're tangibly doing on a daily basis for this council and what you could be doing. So, any questions? Okay. And then we'll reconvene and have a whole group discussion after you've had some time to put your thoughts on paper. Okay. Started just so we can keep moving the meeting along, and this is a little bit of a shorter meeting than usual. So I'm curious, did anyone write down a different partner on your sheet? Yes. Krista. Okay. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Okay. So maybe some additional local and regional community partners could be added to the council's list of partners. And certainly, as we're developing the framework, we had a meeting with how many community organizations and state organizations? Like 30 organizations provided feedback on our framework last Monday. So definitely we have more partners than just our named ones from our application. So we could represent those in the council's in the council's logic model, certainly, because this isn't something that we're accountable to share with our federal sponsors, but it's absolutely something that needs to be guiding our work as a council. So that's great. Thanks, Krista. Felix. Mm-hmm. Yes. Yes. So, yeah. Mm-hmm. Yes, of course. Yes, something it's on my to-do list. Learn Nepali. Yeah. Yes. So I think what's important about including community organizations is on the council's one is that you guys can go out and interact with those organizations and help us bring back more information to us and share about the work and distribute resources that are developed by our center and shared by our center. So that's a great point. Elaine? Ah, yeah. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Great. Yeah, partnering with reaching out to health systems. Yeah, as we're writing the framework, it's important to, in that sense that it's a birth to grade 12 framework. From birth, we interact with so many systems, and our families are in those systems and could really benefit from better family engagement in all those spheres. So yes. Mm-hmm. Elaine. Yeah. So you each might have examples from your own community. And so if you want to write those down so we are aware of all those possible partners that we could be working with, and then you can hand those sheets in at the end, that would actually be a really cool thing to do, to think about how to spread the word through those local organizations. Yes, Eric? Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Right. Yeah. I really want to partner with Target and get on Target's like Twitter feed. Something about like share your story on this website and get a free back to school kit or something through Target. But yeah, so if you have any ideas for how we can get our resources in the hands of superintendents who could, or principals or teachers at your local schools to share the website, share about our work, that would be great. Yes. Constance. Mm-hmm. Yes, definitely. Other partners, or can we move on to activities now? Yes, sorry. Oh, okay. Yes. That would be fantastic. So if you need any information about, or want to bounce ideas back and forth about how to share it, be happy to help. Thank you. Barb. Yes. Yeah.
So we'll pull those together and send those to you. But right now, just sort of an immediately ideas for us how to make this sort of part of the going back to school. Everybody sort of, I shopped tax-free last weekend. Did you? Right? I mean, we kind of have, back to school in our minds. So ways we can ride this wave of back to school, people's awareness about school is high right now. But then also your ideas and what you need from us to help do the website as one of our first activities sort of on our list of things.
Yes. Mm-hmm. So we can share with our PTA Ohio rep if you want to share with your local PTAs. Okay. So if we send out to the entire council sort of a template for sharing the website, so like a blurb you can put on, the school could put on social media, an organization could put on social media, a website, an email that could be sent out. Would that be helpful? Okay, we will do that right away. And we could even put some back to school language in it. So like as you head back to school or as you kick off the school year, check out these new resources available. And if you want to tweak it and put your own take on it, we can send it back and forth and land on what works best for your organization and for making sure we're staying on message. But, tailoring it to your local context would be great. Krista. Yeah, remaining relevant to those seasons of school. Yes. I have a feeling that Kia in the back of the room is taking notes right now about Yes, so back to school is one. Gosh, anybody else read an article about the summer brain drain and just want to like vomit? Because I'm like, my kid is straining to learn so much from me this summer. Like, I am not a brain drain. She's not even in school, so whatever. But life is good at home, right? And you learn a lot at home, and it's not a brain drain. It's amazing. So, anyways, yes, if we can shift those conversations and talk about the importance of family in those moments, that would be great. And we can put together some ideas for blasting out at those times. Thanks. Other ideas for, yes, Kathy. Would it be helpful to have something that could be printed? Mm-hmm. Yeah. A brochure that could be printed by you or the school to post on like a bulletin board in a front office. Yeah, so more brochures for your local in-person kind of interactions. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Okay. You got that, Tom? Libraries? Yeah, something that can be emailed definitely is going to happen. Something that could be printed could be attached to the email we send you guys. And then anything that we email out, hopefully in the future, will also go on that council website. So you don't have to dig in through your emails and find it. We'll have it on your page of the website where you log in using your council member password. So, yes.
Okay, to our family members. So we are learning that when it comes to family engagement, families learn it best from other families, from parents talking about their own experiences. So what could we provide to you as a parent that you would naturally fit into your Instagram or into your Facebook or into a conversation? I don't see you, handing these out to friends. I don't know. I'm picturing myself and how I interact with folks, and it's typically not around a brochure. It's typically I'm just talking. So how might we package the information for you?
You can embed that video from our website. It's on our YouTube channel as well. So if you've ever logged into the live stream on YouTube, that video should be on our YouTube. You can embed that in Facebook or other places where you share. So that's one idea. I answered your question, but other people can answer too. How can we make it easy? Mm-hmm. So kind of draw them in with one really relevant thing to them. Yeah. Okay. So yes, feel free to go on our website, find any link that's already, any URL within our website and send it to your friends, and then they can sort of share from there. That would work. Is there anything that we would need to do to make that easier, or? Mm-hmm. Okay. Mm-hmm. Right. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Okay. Great. Thanks.
Would it be, hey friends, I'm a member of the council for this center at Ohio State, and I thought you guys might like to see a link of the website they just launched or something like that. Something personal, maybe let them know you're a council member. We would love that too.
So actually what I did when you sent out the email yesterday, day before yesterday, is I actually just typed up a little something like, I'm a member of this council. We're working with family engagement for schools through Ohio State. And I sent that out to all of my staff, and I said, take a look there's some amazing resources in here that really help the families that we work with, and you feel free to share that out to, everyone that we're working with. And I have to say they were very excited about what was on the website and the fact that it was comprehensive, not just in like the early childhood field, which is where a lot of our resources come from, but it had a lot of things they could give to parents and people that they work with, and even like the staff themselves that have maybe older children, or it's not just they have a child that's in preschool, they've got a child that's in preschool and they've got a high schooler, they've got a middle schooler, and so it really spanned that age gap. And I was like looking through it, and there's some stuff that even some resources that I wasn't aware of. So I think we're really on the right track with it. But
thanks, Zach. You're our poster or model citizen here. No, I'm just kidding. You guys are all doing good. Well, so one way is, it would be cool if you guys have an event that you were going to share, or a day that you were said, like, I'm going to do a blast of this on this day. We should be able to see a jump on our Google Analytics. So if you share with us that day that you did that, we'll be able to sort of track how successful that was. And it's funny, when I go to a conference and I present about our center, we had an older website that we were using before, and I would see a big jump on the days that I presented about our work, because I would always link to our website. So it would be cool for you guys to get that sense of like adrenaline almost, knowing that like, oh, this is really making an impact. So if you'd like to do that, feel free to reach out to us. And we can share back at future meetings how those, we're reporting our Google Analytics from our website to our federal sponsor. So we're already going to be doing that. So yeah, it's a new digital world. How else? Yes, we'll send out in an email. We'll send out something that could be printed to put in a front office, something that can be like a little square image that can be posted to social media, and hopefully we can make them so they're editable. So if you want to add, or in like Twitter or Facebook, you can add your own message at the top when you post it. Yes.
That might be helpful. So maybe if we had like a fact sheet or like talking points, so if we wanted to go to our local school districts and talk to them about why it's important that they take and get on board with this project, and just like, so we can put some local pressure on them, not just coming from ODE, or not just coming from that, but that people in their community are actually involved or interested in engaging kind of in this project.
Yes, 2 ideas I have for that right off the bat. Our video about the website, if you noticed, has a blurb all about the benefits for teachers, for students, for parents. So you could even make those into talking points, and we could send out the script for that and make it into sort of a talking points thing, because that's a great sort of high-level overview of why this work matters. And then I would encourage you, if you had the ear of someone at your school, like you did already, it sounds like, sit down and just click through some of the resources on the website, so it makes it more real. It's not family engagement as this abstract thing. Like those resources are great examples of what family engagement is. Barb, do you want to add anything to that about talking points or anything? Yeah.
country's mindset about family engagement. So you think about, oftentimes we have a lot of research, but we have people who don't do things, right? Dr. Keel shared with us, you know, we have job openings, we have all of this, and yet, or we know about certain scientific things, and yet as a public, we don't understand that. We don't have that knowledge. And so doesn't matter how many research articles we have and sort of how much sort of proof in a sense or evidence that we have. Sometimes our mindset, our understanding is still one thing. And it's the same thing with family engagement. Oftentimes folks think if families just cared, it would be better, right? And teachers just need to care. And we know that that's not true, that there are skills. You need to do things. There are things that are more effective and things that are less effective. And so, and one of the other things, reason why we use the rocket metaphor is because this organization studied that metaphor, and it was the most powerful metaphor, and it's in your brochure. It was the most powerful metaphor with the general public to help them understand family engagement. The family engagement is like launching a rocket at mission control.
We are scientists. We are piloting this science in Ohio right now for how to talk about family engagement. And our video about our website is going to be put on the National Alliance website as an example of how schools can, or states as a whole, can apply this research. So, yay.
Yes. We learned about this on July 12th. We came back, we made that video, and we're the first state using this new messaging that we have. So there's other messaging and we want to share that with you. We want to bring more of that to Ohio. The reason I started with that, though, was because there are some good messages we want to get out. And we want to make sure we're using the right terms and we're not falling into those traps of like, we all just need to care more, right? And so that'll be our work to get those into your hands.
Okay. Yes, Amy. Hey.
You guys are so stinking cute, like with how excited you are about this stuff. But so I love manipulation and not letting people know that they're being manipulated. And so one of the things that I've spent a lot of time doing is, you guys are going to be so excited. You can be the first to like tell people about this and see this. And like, I have a friend that's running for the school board right now. Like, actually, he just texted me a little while ago. He's like, so when are you going to let me see this stuff? So people love to be the first, and people love to like be able to give things. So sometimes, I mean, what we're doing is giving it to them, but if we let them believe that they are giving it, if that makes sense, manipulate people, manipulate.
Yes, so the reason I like what you just said is that the people that did this research are the social scientists who understand that sort of, that stuff about, yeah. So they did on-the-street interviews, and so they listened to people's current perceptions of family engagement, and then they sort of shared with them that metaphor of the rocket launch. And then by the end of the interviews, they were saying something completely different. Yeah, just like I was saying before, it's about interdependence. We're all in this together. And yeah, it's not just Carrie. So it's funny that you said that. Reminded me of there.
How about this? I wrote this about you. Make sure I'm writing the right thing, that our council members are going to share on social media and share the website. So we're going to need to kind of, we'll be asking you about that. And then state advisory council members share a story with us about your school or community or your own family. That would be another metric for us, I think. What do you think about that?
So in other words, do we have a distribution list for anyone who wants to be informed about our work? We don't have one yet, believe it or not. We have a list of the 323 districts that we've been sifting information to, but we do not have sort of a general public listserv like ODE just set up. So we can think about. What we didn't want to do is on our website, we didn't want to have a pop-up, like sign up to hear more, because we ourselves hate when that happens on a website and you feel like you're being attacked right when you get on the website. But we could have something somewhere like sign up to hear more, like on our contact us page. But that's something we could improve. As of now, we have not set that up, but if we decide as a group that that's something that we need to do or that would be beneficial, I think the idea of sending timely information out in some way, whether it's sort of seasonal, we do it, 4 times a year during the school year or something, that could be good. Yes. Okay. So for the other activities beyond sort of the sharing of resources, what about the development of resources? How would you all like to be involved in that, to set a goal around that? What might that look like for you as a council? Did anyone write anything about that on their own personal list? If not, it's okay. Jen? Okay. Mm-hmm. Do we want to set a goal that members of the council or a certain, let me just get this out and then we can perfect it, that you all will help us find and post resources to our website? So like Ocali could send us resources for families specific to autism and other low incidence disabilities. And we could find places for those on our website. So do we want to set a goal as a council for how many of those, like maybe, I don't know, what do you think? Give me an idea. Elaine. Right. So my thought on that was maybe if it's like a really cool idea that a region implemented, that could be a story. But a resource would maybe need to be not local specific. But certainly if it was something that happened in multiple local locations, then we could post about it and say, this is something Ohio is doing. This is sort of a cool research-based family engagement strategy that Ohio schools are using. And then sort of point out all the different places it's happening. Krista. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Right. So we do want some new resources posted on a regular basis. What if the council helped us to add, I don't know, I don't want to say a number, but it's like those areas that schools said they needed the most help with. So family engagement and academics and mental health and trauma. What if we as a council worked really hard to get, and I want you guys to help me set the goal, a certain number of additional resources posted in those areas of our website? Would that be okay? Do we want to set a goal, a short-term goal, and then maybe a longer-term goal? So what if like within the next year we said we wanted to post 5 more high-quality resources for family engagement and academics? They could be in any age level. And then 5 more mental health and trauma resources to our website. Yes. Yeah. Exactly. Yeah. And we would love to be able to, in one of our next, emails to them say, because of your responses, we added X number and X number here, so check them out. Yeah, that would be great. Krista. Yes. Mm-hmm. Sort of a school level needs assessment with families. Mm-hmm. Are we out of time? Okay. This is amazing. And we can keep this conversation going. We have another meeting this year. And I think this is a great start and gives us some measurable goals and outcomes. And so as you think about what you're going to do this fall as back to school is happening, keep your ears open and think about what resources people share with you, what resources you're sharing with other people, and then send them to us. And then if you find something as a need that isn't currently filled, you can't Google it, you can't find a friend who knows about it, that might be where we decide as a council we need to develop something. And so we could put together a small work group to work on developing a new resource. And yeah, I think this is a good start. It's a short meeting, so we can't get through everything. But thank you so much for all of your participation. That was amazing. And please turn in your handouts by the end of the meeting to me, and I will make sure that we sort of get all of it represented on something and sent back out to you guys with the notes.
Yeah, so I think we'll have a draft logic model to share with you all from this, sort of the start of one. Okay, let's zip ahead here. All right, we talked. The survey, we promised our evaluators that we would have you respond to their survey. And we will also be sending this out to you again if you, hopefully if you're here, you can complete it now. We'll do it during our meeting, and then we will be sending this to everyone, so if somebody was not able to make it today, they'll be able to respond from home. So I'm going to be quiet and let you do that. Does everyone have access to, either with their phone or with a laptop, iPad, some sort of device, access to this link? Does anybody not? I guess that's the... Okay, so we're going to be quiet. We're going to spend some time. And then, I don't know, just set your device down when you're done. And I'll know when you're done.
Current draft of Ohio's Family Engagement Framework we've been working on. So if you want to go ahead and start reading the introduction, you could do that. We're going to have a little bit of truncated time to pull it apart and work through it today. I know we don't have a whole lot of time before we're slated to end. So you can go ahead and start reading that, and then if we have time, we'll have you break up into groups and talk about it. Does anyone need a copy, or has everyone got one? Okay. Wanted you to have a copy. So this is the revised version based on your feedback last meeting.
Okay. So the framework has been moved along a little bit. Well, let me just tell you quickly about a meeting that we had on Monday. on Monday, Anita Armstrong, a member of our council, and the framework team pulled together a group of agency leaders from Ohio. So we had leaders from the Department of Health, Jobs and Family Services, libraries, county leaders, the early childhood resource and referral agencies, the principals associations, our two teachers unions. So we had lots of different leaders from different education organizations or community organizations like libraries. And we met at the state library, and they did this activity that we're going to do with you now. So we are, and one of them really did something that was made me feel wonderful that day, and she acknowledged that this is it's like sharing your underbelly. It's being vulnerable here to take some unfinished work and share it share it with folks and say, please critique this. It's kind of like, when you were doing your homework and you had that really rough draft that was awful, so that's what we're sharing with you. And part of the messiness of this work is, and I think I've said this before, like we cast the net wide. We want to have a lot of input. We try to incorporate that, and then we, get more feedback on it. And so, given it's a rough draft, but we'd like your input. And here's how we'd like to do that. We'd like for you to sort of break up into some different groups. So if you would be interested in, so we're not going to ask you to review the whole thing. We're going to do something that's actually, this is an instructional strategies that teachers use in their classrooms, and they actually find that it is one that is effective for helping people learn material. And that is not for us all to read the whole thing, but for small groups to each read a part and then share back with one another. This is what this part is about. But then we'd also like to hear, and these are words that you're using that you should not use, and here's some points that you're missing, here's our points that we think were important that were made, to kind of critique it. Okay, so if I could so we're going to break up into one group that's going to sort of critique that introduction, one that's going to critique the communication section, one the learning at home section, and one the community partnerships section. So we'd like you to sort of move a little bit. And if you're going to say read and talk about the introduction section, if you could sort of meet up maybe in this top corner over here. And the communications section, maybe if you all meet here. How about learning at home, kind of in the middle here, and the community partnership groups over here. So I know that that's going to mean that you move. But why don't you pick the section that you're most interested in reading. Introductions, if you're going to read the introduction and give us some feedback on that, please be in that corner. If your communications here, learning at home here, and community partnerships there. Okay, so I'll give you a second to move. Here's your job. Just read that one section on your own, and then as a group talk about it, and then we'll share out. One last thing. We're going to ask our high school students, middle school students, to have their own discussion, and Tom's going to give you all space to do that, and so you don't have to be in this room for that. There's a nice hallway out there with some great places to sit. So high school students, meet Tom over here at the door. We're going to ask our other folks to do this sort of what we're calling a jigsaw activity with us. So here's what you're doing. You're reading just that section, talk about it, gather the what's wrong, what's right, what could be improved, and then share that with us. Communication is right around in here, okay? Communication section, you guys at the learning and, okay, thank you. Community partners group is over here, and just kind of push yourself where you can kind of talk. All right. Community partners, home, communication, introduction. We could use someone in the introduction, it looks like. Oh, one other person's coming. Good. All right. All right. I'm going to be quiet now. So once you have had a chance to read it, then just start your conversation. You don't need me to do that. And then I'm going to wrap you up, though. Okay, so what I'd like to do now with we've got 10 minutes remaining. So what I'd like to do now is just to sort of hear some high points from you. Each of our groups has had one of the framework folks from the Department of Education as a part of your group. So I've been watching them. They're sort of like frantically taking notes about your conversation. So that's good. You also know that you can always sort of share your input with us. If you've written something down and you want to give it to us in writing, you can do that. But I think if we could just sort of hear from each group what the introduction seemed to be doing and some recommendations you would have, and then the communication section, so what it seemed to be trying to say and how we could improve it. And we'll move kind of quickly through this. All right, and we promise we'll be back with more in a better one for you to review next time. Okay, so could we start back here? And we need a fearless team member to do quick. We're just like a minute or two.
I'll try to summarize. I feel like given more time, we could have a whole lot more. So I'll give just a couple thoughts. One is really getting into nitty-gritty for me personally. There's a sentence talking about teachers and program staff could have more confidence that their education programs are meeting the cultural, linguistic, social, emotional, and educational needs of their students. Personal bias makes me want that to speak to their physical, possibly safety, health, wellness. Also, we're in a society where I'm so thankful that we're moving toward destigmatizing and wanting to deal with social, emotional, mental health stuff, but I don't want to lose sight of physical health as well. In addition, we talked a bit, it was like an unfinished conversation, I'll call it, but just defining what is the true end goal. Family engagement is the end goal, but what's the true summarized end goal of family engagement? So when we see phrases like, what is best for Ohio's children, what is best for Ohio's children? And we talked a little, we just started talking about how that could be different for different cultures and different individuals. So very, very much a nutshell. Not sure if I'm representing us that well, but there's a little bit.
Yes, no. That was a perfect, you set the example perfectly for us. Okay, I'm going to come down here. Do we have a, David? You're.
Sure. So we really like that listening was emphasized in the communication section, and that that's an active process, and that the school actually stands to learn a lot from the families and vice versa, which yields being valued and engaged on the family's end. We like that the framework acknowledged access to technology and internet might vary from family to family and across the state, and that we really have to, schools and programs at least, have to bend over backwards essentially to communicate with families across the state despite their situation, which includes language and accommodations for those with disabilities, which I think is not clearly stated so well in the framework. We like that we said don't give up. A professor of mine said all methods work, all methods fail. So what works for one family could be great, and you might do that with 95% of your families, but what about that 5% you're not reaching through that mode of communication or through that after-school event? So you have to try multiple methods to reach everyone. We had some small wordsmithing issues, but I won't get into those. We think it could be sure to include practical examples of what it means to set high expectations and to create a growth mindset that I think educators might know what that means, but how does that translate to families? So just be real, make that understandable. Perhaps consider reminding us that the federal obligations to engage families is a part of a lot of funding in school programs, and I imagine some of the community programs. And then we're all family engagers. While family liaisons and sort of specialized positions might be growing in numbers across schools and programs, it's important that everyone in schools and programs see themselves as someone responsible for engaging families. It's not just the responsibility of the council or of Dr. Boone, or, we have to share that.
Thank you. Thank you, group. A speaker?
Of course, that was going to happen. We had a great group, great feedback. So I'm going to try to hit high points. Let me know if I missed anything. I think we liked as a group the statement, there is no single best method to support learning at home. Like that was a big anchor, I think, for what we like to see here. The other things was a little bit too much content at the top. You get to the bottom where we feel the more important pieces are, and we might have already stopped by then. And I think the really good suggestion that I was like, I really like this idea is that schools and programs and families were separate, but maybe connecting like how they fit together And I like that. I think that makes a lot of sense. And we talked about how there's like 3 key ideas of expectations, supports, and feedback, and maybe highlighting that as like shorter headers or bullets, because that's really the key information coming out. Was there anything else that I missed? Good. Oh, and linking to different things when we're talking about what they do, like the family one, keeping learning fun. So what are the ways to do that, and maybe by like age range as well, since there's so many resources already out there.
Oh, thank you, group. This is great. We've got 2 more report outs. Who's our? Everybody quick. Oh, Krista, did you do that again?
No, I didn't. I don't know what y'all want. Okay, real quick, 30 seconds. So we do support wholeheartedly strategic community partners. We think that is key to all schools. Some of our questions around the notion of school staff being present and actively engaged, because we know that that's always a struggle with staff. So maybe there's a way to soften that, or at least provide some examples around that, because there are educators who do support that, but then educators also have their own lives. And so what does that support mean? We talked a lot about bringing in partners at the high school level, and what does that mean? Maybe creating for students not only an opportunity to hear the adults from our community partners and businesses share their experiences, but also to provide internships, externships, or something where they can actively engage. Love what schools and programs can do, because that gave a great teaser and a good outline of things that we should be considering. When we got to the last page of what families can do, we asked the questions of who they would need to talk to, and really trying to give families a direct marker of here are some of the people that might be able to support that in your school. And then one of the questions that we also started to discuss was maybe creating opportunities for parent forums that would kind of help link them to the people that they need to talk to. But the last question that came up was the notion of safety, school safety, and being able to come into the school, and that whole issue of volunteering and what does that look like now in light of some of the things that are within our schools now. So we kind of ended there. We don't have all those answers, but we're happy to work through them. Thank you.
Thank you for that. I think that really, your input in what you're saying, I think, I see the framework team, and I guess you're not in on all these meetings where we meet and try to, but this really helps us to move forward to the next step. And I think in October at our next meeting, you're going to see a very different, probably, and more polished, and you'll see these ideas reflected in that. Tom, did you want to sort of report out for the students, or is there a student who wants to report out sort of about what you all did? Did you go check out an exhibit, or did you all? Me? Anyone? Quick, share out? Can I put you on the spot? I already did.
We just kind of talked about something that we can do in our school, something that would be beneficial to, I don't know, engage other, students our age. And then we talked about things that would be helpful for us to know as we go out of these meetings. Yeah.
Okay, well, thank you for that. Thank you for, coming here and rolling up your sleeves. I hope you were able to connect again with someone and connect with COSI. I hope you were able to sort of maybe learn something new today. Also, you worked, and which I know is always a commitment in our meetings, that these are really working times for us. So here's some information as we head out. Please share the website with others. We'll try to give you the tools you need to do that. If you think of something when you leave here that would be helpful to you, just let us know. We have that subcommittee ready to go, so we're going to ask you to contact us and say, hi, I'd be happy to be on that subcommittee to help sort of set agendas for meetings. And our next meeting is scheduled for October 4th back at our offices at Ohio State on Kenny Road from 10 to 2, our normal time. So from here on out, if you have a pink wristband, please, you're free to explore COSI until 5 o'clock tonight. And so you could leave and come back if you wanted. If you need to leave right away, let's make sure you have that parking voucher so you can get out of the parking structure without any payment. Thanks to COSI for having us here. I say goodbye for Meredith. Her daughter, her infant, is running a fever, so she had to head to her child care provider and pick her up. Any other last questions before we adjourn for me? All right, well, please, everything, today's recording, everything will be available on your link on the website, your login, and we look forward to seeing you in October, and we'll hear from you between now and then, hopefully, too. All right, thanks. Oh, yes, and please remember to share your logic model feedback with us.